Hello, my name is Travis Gallington, and today I'm going to be showing you a prototype of a board game I've created called Blacksmith Brothers. Now that name is already taken by another board game company, so I'll need to come up with another name, but for now it suffices. This game is based around collecting ores and building swords. Now how you do each of those things is pretty simple, and I'll go over it in a minute. The background of this game is that you are a son of the legendary blacksmith Tobo, and recently he has unfortunately passed away. Now, in his will, he declares that any of his sons are able to inherit his forge and his fortune, but there is a stipulation. You must work at his forge for a certain amount of days, and that certain amount of days will change based on how many players are playing. And you must earn the most amount of money, you must earn more money than your other brothers who are also competing for the forge. So at the end of the allotted amount of days, you must have more money than the other players or your brothers. Now, at the beginning of each turn, to start the game, everybody draws 5 ore cards from the ore deck and collects one of their sword sheets. You also must decide who is going to be the first player. The first player is is given the master hammer, which means that they're going first. Each turn, you'll pass it along to the next person, and then the next person, and the next person, and eventually it'll come back to the first person. After everybody has had it twice, or if you're playing with 2 people 4 times, then the game is over and you count up your coins to see who's won. Now for this game, I didn't want to cut out a bunch of paper and make a bunch of coins, so what I did is I just used regular coins. So I have some pennies, nickels, dimes, and quarters here, and they work fine. It's perfect. Now, at the start of the game, everybody starts with 5 ore cards and 20 coins. And then the first player will do their turn. But before you start your turn, you have to do a couple things. Now, you pick out some customer cards. Now, depending on how many players are playing, will designate how many customers there are going to be. So if there's 2 players, it's only 1 customer. If there's 3 players, it's 2 customers. If there's 4 players, it's 3 customers. It's just the number of players minus 1. So let's say I have this customer who wants a crystal, gold, and gold sword. I have a guy who wants an iron sword, and I have a guy who wants a tin sword. Let's pretend like we're playing with 4 people. So now I've drawn the customers, and those will be laid out for everybody to see. Then, depending on the amount of players, I will put a certain amount of cards in the market stall. Now, when you look at the market stall from the front, it looks okay. It just looks like some cardboard I glued together. If you look at the back, it's made out of Yahtzee. So I just cut up a box for Yahtzee. So you will take some cards, and you will lay them out on the market. And depending on the amount of players, depends on the amount of cards in the market. So it's the amount of players plus 1, that's the amount of cards. So if I'm playing with 4 people, I need to lay out 5 cards. So let's see what we've got here. So we have iron, coal, coal, and tin. Now we have an iron customer who wants an iron sword, and we have a tin customer. So if I was playing this and I had, I need to explain how you make swords first. Basically, how you make swords is that in the second phase of the game, you select 3 ores and the amount of coal necessary to create a sword. So if I want a tin sword, I put a tin, and 1 coal, designated by here. Tin and iron swords are 1 coal, steel and gold swords are 2 coal, and crystal swords are 3 coal. So let's go through the process of a turn. So let's say I have my 5 cards that I drew in the beginning of the game, and look at them, and I have my 20 coins, and I'm going to decide what I want to do. Oh, and at the beginning of every turn, you draw a card, because you start with 1 miner. Miners are very important. Miners dictate how many cards you get to draw at the beginning of your turn. So you can spend all your money on miners, and then every turn you'll draw a bunch of cards, but then you're not going to have any money for the end of the game, and you're going to be out of luck. You're going to be out of money, but you're going to have plenty of miners. So, I have a couple choices I can make. So let me look at my hand. Okay. I have 3 iron and 2 coal. Oh, perfect. I can make this iron sword for the customer in the second phase of the game once everybody's had their buying and selling phase. So I can do a couple things. I can buy a miner, I can buy a card from the market, or I can sell a card to the market. So let's say, I don't really need this other coal. I'm going to sell it to the market. So that card, and you can see the values here. This is its selling value, this is its buying value, and this is its sword value. Coals can't be made into swords, so there's an X there. Let me show you a card that can be made into a sword. Here's tin. Tin, if sold, will give you 3 coins. If bought from the market, you'll pay 5 coins. And if made into a sword, it'll be worth 4 coins. So if I make a sword, I'll have a tin, and a tin. That's 4 times 3, it'd be worth 12. And you would also put the coal in there. So, I have just sold this coal at the market. I receive 1 coin, and I say, I'm not gonna buy any miners, and I'm not gonna buy any cards from the market. That's my turn done. Players 2, 3, 4, or however many players you're playing with will take their turns, and then it moves on to phase 2. You look at the customers, and you decide, all right, let's see. There's a guy who wants a tin sword, there's a guy who wants a crystal gold and gold sword, and there's a guy who wants an iron sword. I'm the first player because I have the blacksmith's hammer, and I can decide, all right, so I'm going to use this iron I have to make an iron sword. So I place down my iron, and I place down my coal, and then I collect the amount of money for that contract, and then I discard that contract. The game ends when the number of turns has ended or we're out of customers. That's probably not going to happen, as customers are pretty hard to fulfill every turn. So then the rest of the players will take their turns, but they can now not fulfill this contract. This is only for me now. I'm the one who fulfilled it, I get the money from it, and they are not able to anymore. So if another person spent their money to buy an iron ore from the market, and they spent the last of their money to get it, well, they're out of luck. They can't use that contract anymore because I'm the first player. So they took a risk, and it lost it. So let's say player 2 took another miner token. So now they have 2 miner tokens. So now, because it's the second phase, I would discard all the contracts, put them back into the pile. I would take all the market cards and put them back into the card pile, or the ore pile. And then I would shuffle it around, play some new customers, play some new market cards, and the blacksmith's hammer would go to player 2. Now that customer, as I said, has 2 miners. And since they get to go first, they draw 2 cards. Now miners progressively get more expensive. So at first, they only cost 20, but then they cost 40, and then 60, and then 80. Basically, take your number of miners and then multiply it times 20. So I have 1 miner, 1 times 20, it's 20. So now I have 2 miners. But now if I want to buy a third, it's 2 times 20, so it's 40 per miner. And this is very powerful. If you have 5 miners, you're drawing 5 cards a turn. That is incredibly powerful, but it is super expensive to get there, and you might cripple yourself trying to get there. Now, there's a lot of strategy in this game. You know, you want to make sure you buy the right cards. And let's say there's a crystal sword to be made, and you don't have any crystal. Well, maybe there's a crystal at the market, and maybe you buy it just to make sure nobody else gets it. And because crystal can be sold back later for almost the same value, but not as much. You might just do that to just throw someone off so they can't get the crystal sword. Because there's only 1 crystal contract in the deck, and it's very, very richening. You know, you get a lot of money for it. Now, that's about all for this game, and thanks for watching.